We should be arriving at our anchorage early tomorrow morning, or maybe tomorrow afternoon, but at least we'll be arriving tomorrow, which is really exciting.
Going where the fair winds blow, our home is where the waters flow. We'll show you what we've come to know on board while sailing wisdom.
So I started my day by getting a shower, and we bought a new mobile shower when we were in the Douro Valley, and we bought a shower. I used it for the first time today, and it kind of worked. It did get me clean. The most important thing is it was a hot shower, because I boiled the water first in a teapot and then mixed it with cold water, and it was fantastic. And it feels so good to be clean. So I just hope that this journey is only a couple more days long, because getting that dirty is gross.
Originally, we thought that this trip would be about 4 days.
It's been 6 days.
And I think we'll be maybe another 2 days to get there. So it's shower time, because I've been wearing the exact same clothes, expecting to get there pretty soon, and then get a shower when we got there. But stink.
We put that faucet there specifically for this purpose. Heating up some kind of delicious looking quinoa. And we are flying. We're going, well, we were going about 8 knots. Then we had a lot of weather helm, so we reefed. And now we're going 6 to 7 knots, which is still crazy. And it's exciting, because for somehow every time we start coming down the home stretch, the weather gets perfect. I mean, knock on wood. Herbie's gonna give you a little weather lesson right now, because he can.
So what's going on is we're actually sailing on a perfect beam reach straight towards our destination, which is awesome because we're a cutter and beam reaches is where they shine. What's going on here? We have a lot of wind. We actually put a reef in the main for balance because we had too much weather helm, which means that, say my wrist is the stern and my fingers are the bow, there was too much wind hitting here, pushing the boat that way. So if you make the sails in the back half a little smaller, the sails in the front can counter it, and then you have a balanced helm. And then the rudder's straight and everything just goes really well. So that is why we did the reef. The wind is coming directly from that way. There's a principle, you don't have to worry about the name, but if you face directly into the wind and you hold your right arm out and you point, wherever your right arm is pointing is the center of a low pressure. The wind rotates counterclockwise around the low pressure system. So wind is from there, so I put my right arm straight out, and directly ahead of us is where the low pressure is. So the further we get into the low pressure, the wind's going to continue to build gradually. And gradual is the important part, because if it's a cold front that's coming, it's going to be no wind, too much wind, just like a smack. And in those cases, we reef heavily. We put up our storm sails in calm weather, waiting for it to hit us, and then when it hits us, we're ready, and we don't have to worry about it. But a low pressure system, the wind builds gradually. So that means that we know we're going to be reefing, and we just hold out for as long as we want, and then when we feel like it's time, we put the first reef in. We gradually go reefing as we get closer to the center. So the other really cool thing is if you just sit and stare at the clouds long enough, you'll see bunnies and doggies and stuff like that, but you'll also see which direction the clouds are going. So these clear blue skies are actually coming at us, so that means that if the weather system moves faster than we do, we won't have to reef, because we'll actually come into clear skies and lighter winds. It's pretty much a waiting game to see what way we're going to go, but it's just really good to know what you're looking for. So the signs of a high pressure system are those clear blue skies behind me, nice fluffy clouds, and really flat clouds. That means that there's not really much happening in the atmosphere, nothing's really rising, so there's not really much change in wind. Now, in front of us, it's the opposite. So here you can see there's not much blue sky and the clouds are climbing straight up. And actually with a bit of an angle. And the angle that they're going is the direction that system is moving. So that tells us that the system's moving little to the left. And the fact that they're climbing means there's going to be a lot of wind there, because there's a lot of instability because the atmosphere is going up. And as it goes up, the vapors go up and then they condensate and then you get clouds. So pretty much we're just waiting for this weather to come at us, and if it gets to us before we get out of it, we don't have to reef. If we sail into that first, then we put a reef in. That's it. So that is how we tell if we need to reef, especially at dusk when the sun is setting. We look at the clouds and see what's it going to be for the night, and we just reef accordingly then while there's still sun up.
Easy quinoa salad from a box.
So just a little update on how the weather has unfolded for us. The short version is we haven't needed to put a reef in and things are actually calming down, so it's really good. The low that was ahead of us has moved faster than we did, but then another portion came in and it's pretty light winds. It's really not bad at all. Behind us, and actually where we're heading now, is out of the skirt of the low and back into the high pressure system right next to it. So we're heading towards clear blue skies and we should have pretty nice sail. So you can see the clouds just run and they're really flat, which is why we're not having crazy winds right here. And then over there are bright blue skies. So we're close to the edge. So it's really important when you think about weather systems, like large weather systems that are high pressure and low pressure systems, not as two individual things, but more of a chain. One feeds the other one. So high pressure feeds the low pressure. So if there's wind, it's going into the low pressure because the low pressure is rising and creating a vacuum where the high pressure is next to it, pushing down, feeding it. The best wind that we like to sail in is actually right on the edge of a high and a low, like right on that margin. So we actually look for cloud lines where you see the fronts meet, where the low reaches the high, and right on that border we'll have beautiful winds from a consistent direction and a consistent strength. We have sailed out of that little low pressure system area into an area of higher pressure where there's clear blue skies and everything's really nice and happy. With that, we know that we're no longer going into the low because the low is moving faster than we are, so therefore concerns for needing to reef tonight are pretty slim.
I just threw up. We should be arriving at our anchorage early tomorrow morning, or maybe tomorrow afternoon, but at least we'll be arriving tomorrow, which is really exciting because this has turned out to be a much longer passage than we anticipated, although that always is the case, so we're not actually surprised. For now, Herbie's got the first watch. I'm gonna go to sleep, and we just had a delicious dinner, and I'm tired. Night night.
So we are currently approaching the most southwest point of Europe. So we're going to be rounding Faro, which is the southwest point of Portugal, and then we're going to make our way through the separation zone and then to anchor on the southern coast in Algarve. It's currently 7 a.m. and the sun is coming up, so my night watch ends and I get to go to sleep. And at this pace, we should be arriving at our anchorage in just a few hours, so I don't really get that much sleep because then I have to, go man the anchor while Maddie tells me where to put it or when to drop it. She's the one that puts the boat where it goes. Yeah, we're almost there. Once we get anchored, then I'm going to sleep. for hours. A lot of sleep.
As we approach land, we have just gained internet abilities, and so I was able to look up the type of bird that we've been seeing for this entire passage, and it is the masked booby. They're really cute. It is not that cold out.
It is so cold.
You're a pansy.
It's like in the 60s.
It's in the 60s.
I think it's like 67 or 68, somewhere around there.
No, it's like 64 probably.
It's cold. It's cold. But there's not enough wind for Wendy to steer, and there's just barely enough wind for us to ghost along. And we're so close to our port that I decided to foot steer. So I told Maddie I was going to hand steer, and then I disengaged Wendy, and then I put up my little toes.
God.
But I don't want to put my hands out because it's cold.
It's not cold. We're gonna go and anchor just inside the Praia de Roca, which just looks beautiful and safe, and it's close to a beach town, and it looks really exciting. So we're getting towards land right now. We're gonna go into this wee little inlet and drop the hook for the first time in well over a year. So that'll feel good. And then we'll find out if our outboard works, because we haven't used it in over a year. And it was finicky to begin with, so we'll see. Of our first successful anchoring in over a year and our excitement at being here, we're going to open a very special alcoholic beverage that we got in San Miguel. Biffy is a sailboat that we met recently from England, and they became quick and very good friends. In honor of them and our recent friendship, we will be drinking from our spiffy shot glasses. To a successful passage here and a successful anchoring.
That's so good.
Oh my gosh.
This is why we bought 2 bottles when we tasted this. Cheers. Issue. So we were mounting the outboard on our new dinghy. So this part that clamps it to the dinghy is completely seized up. I cannot get it to open, so I can't get it on the dinghies. So our outboard has had a really hard go at it. It's been strapped to our stern for a year or more. Ever since Bermuda, we haven't used it. First off, I couldn't get it to actually clamp to the bracket anymore because everything was seized up. So I stole some parts off our other outboard that is dead, even though it's brand new and never used. And then I started gutting this guy down because all sorts of things that are small that should work aren't working. And our carburetor, which is here, is just shot to hell. So pretty much the throttle plate does not move at all in it. So I removed the throttle plate, and I'm hoping we can modulate throttle with the choke. If not, the moment we turn on, this thing's full blast. But the important part is it'll get us somewhere.
The motor was a failure. We're gonna have to buy a new outboard, but of course it is Saturday. So we won't be able to tomorrow. We certainly aren't able to tonight. So we're going to row to shore because we have mad cabin fever, and we're gonna get some food because we deserve it. We had a bit of a rude awakening this morning. We're anchored in a public anchorage, but apparently there is a race happening, so we have to move. Problem is, we don't have our motor very charged up because it didn't really charge overnight because solar panels don't work in the night. So we're going to move just a little bit up the river here. Unfortunately, the man who asked us to move was very rude about it. So not a very positive way to start the day, but I mean, we understand that there's a race and we gotta move, so we're doing it. We're hauling up our 180 feet of chain and moving up. We've anchored once again, and we're actually happier with our new anchorage. Turns out, I think this is the real anchorage. So, yay, we found it, or we were shown it forcibly, and we're gonna put up our rigging doctor flag now because rigging doctor, yay.
We're on the edge of it. This is the thing I love about cruising, is we just sail into a new place and it's so pretty. Like, it's just so picturesque. This is like tiny streets, everything's blue with white, or white with blue trim. It's so Mediterranean looking, even though we're not in the Mediterranean yet. We're on the coast, but not inside the Strait of Gibraltar yet.
Structures, and we're just wandering around a little bit today. We'll go by dinghy to some more amazing caves later, but it's still pretty cool to just walk through. First thing is get a dinghy outboard motors. It was a 6-mile dinghy ride at a very slow pace, but we made it.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends.
And if you'd like to follow our journey in real time on a map, receive postcards from our ports of call, and message us directly to the boat, you can go ahead and become a patron using the link in the description down below.